Goedemiddag allemaal, welkom bij de laatste sessie van vandaag op de dinsdag. Ik moest zelf even nadenken, want ja, de tijd gaat snel. Nog niet? Zijn we in beeld? Hebben we geluid? Ik zal eens even komen kijken. Even assisteren. Wel, dat zijn wij. Ja, dat wil niet. Geeft niet. Nou, dat gaan we nog een keer doen. Gewoon opnieuw voor de camera staan. En ik zeg nogmaals, goedemiddag allemaal. Hartelijk welkom, nu gaat het goed, we hebben het gezien. We zijn in beeld. Laatste sessie van vandaag, de dinsdag. Ik ga overschakelen naar het Engels. Because this is an English session, so I switch to English. Chairman of the Smart Building Alliance, Emmanuel FRANCOIS. He will talk about the Ready2Services framework, a faster impact of digital transition in buildings and cities. Is that correct, Francois?
Yes.
And I still, and I'll do it again, change your surname and your first name. Does more people do that?
Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. I will give the floor to you. You are presenting from France.
Yes.
Due to the coronavirus, the distance, it's not possible for you to come to our studio, but you will do it from France. It's on to you.
Thanks. Hallo, ik ben blij om hier te zijn, om te praten over smart building en de stad van morgen. Die vandaag...
You have to put on your camera, Emmanuel.
Yes. Wait, huh?
Waarom is er?
It's okay? Better?
No, something isn't... yeah, there you are.
Okay. Okay. I start again or not?
But you're very small, but... I have to see how it looks on the other side. Is it possible for you to share your screen and share your presentation? Because there is a little technical problem with that. Or don't you have your presentation available at the moment?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Oh wait, I can edit now if you want. Or is it possible that you share your screen? It's what you want.
Wait. Sorry.
I like your background.
Do you see my screen now?
That's it.
Okay, then I switch. Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. You can go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry.
Hallo, ik ben blij om hier te zijn om te praten over smart building en de stad van morgen, die vandaag moet zijn. Thank you very much for attending this session. I will make a small history first and go back to 1880, electrification of New York. It's almost a long time ago, but you will understand why I'm starting from this date and New York. 20 years later, New York was electrified, and the city of New York decided also to switch from horse horses to thermal car. And within 10 years, the city of New York switched from horses to thermal car. Only 10 years. It was in 1900. And now, you know, the city and these two things, electrification and switch to thermal car, and then buildings and all what have followed, made New York City, the reference city of the 20th century. What is it today? Well, I'm not sure that New York is still the reference city of today. I would rather say that this city has been the showcase for all the cities in the world, but now we are all convinced this is no more sustainable. What has happened? Cities have grown considering that resources were inexhaustible. Energy, water, suns, everything, and it is no more available. It's no more possible. Cities has grown also considering that transportation was the solution. But at the end, this led to creation of ghettos where we are living, where we are working, where we are retailing, where we are teaching. And people in cities are spending more than 2 hours in transportation. And also it has been mostly driven by financial purpose, very centralized. And the result today is that 25% of European population is in poverty. Urban areas are consuming 87% of the global energy consumption and represent more than 70% of the greenhouse gas emission, and 10% within the last 10 years. It's also a lot of problems on health and well-being, with just in Europe, 500,000 people dying early. It's also a question of environment, with the cars representing more than 50% of the city's superficies, but also global warming. It's also the problem with water. We know that, for instance, a city like London, in 20 years, will have problem with water because all the canalization of water are getting old, and with 20% water lost. It's also a question of a problem with waste. 70% of global waste are coming from the cities, and it's just increasing. Faced with this, I identify 6 challenges. One is demographic, with the difference of north and south, also between old and young people. Economic, with I mentioned it, with economical precarity. Environment, with global warming. Health, we know that it's just what's happening today, but it's also the water we are consuming, the air we are breathing, the health and everything, all the alimentation. It's also a problem of identity. With social networks, we can say that we have a problem worldwide with identity. And last but least, there is the sixth challenge, which is becoming also quite accurate, is ethic, with private liberty. So we know that today we are at the end of a system, and a system which is no more bearable. We need to change. We need to change our models. We need to change our way of living. Activities and usages, anyway, are changing with internet. And to support this change, we need to change buildings, mobility, infrastructure, and urbanism. And the soonest, the better. In this context, digital is somewhere an opportunity to support these changes as far as we use it in the right way. Our vision is that within the next years, every citizen, every buildings, every mobility, every territory and their equipment and infrastructure will be connected, but will be connected in real time, will be connected locally and also virtually. And this is the best occasion, if we control it, for the interest of any citizen to combine this digital transition to environmental transition. And this is exactly the vision of the Smart Building Alliance I founded 8 years ago, combine environmental transition to digital transition, and merge or group all together. That means no more have a silo approach, but a transversal approach, and group all the players, starting from the data, starting from the electronic to the data, and in between, building constructors, car manufacturers, industrials, installers, architect, and so on, real estate, and so on. Our scope within SBA is, of course, smart city and smart territories, but it starts with smart home, smart buildings, and smart district. And we are taking care of all these levels. What is SBA today? It's collective intelligence, transversality, diversity of stakeholders. As I told you, it's industry, financial, telecom, service provider, utilities, equipment manufacturers, installers, architects, and even cities and local authorities. Altogether, in France, it's 500 members. But when I say France, it's not only France. A lot of companies are international companies, and already 10%, more than 10% of all these members are non-resident companies in France. As you can see, we have a lot of players. I'm sure you know some of them, and you can consider it that it's not only the building industry or not only the automation industry, it's all the players all together. To support this, the SBA, we have a solid organization with a vice president for smart city, smart building, smart home, general secretaries, and 40 people who are members of the board of directors. What is the SBA doing today? As I told you, we are on smart home, smart building, smart city. We are working on a reference framework. Actually, this Ready2Services reference framework or trust resident reference framework for smart buildings and also smart cities. We are also working on the building operating system, on the BIM, on how we can bring renovation in buildings and cities, and also some transversal projects or some topics like cybersecurity, like artificial intelligence, like blockchain, like regulation, how regulation can support this transition, like change management, like user value proposition, and also network and protocols, and also DC and digital, and I speak later on it. Our target is now to become an international organization based in Brussels and to be totally independent. So we have decided to start internalization. The first country we start will be Italy, but we will see Luxembourg, Switzerland, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, and other countries will follow within the next months and years. And that means we will transfer all the knowledge what has been developed in France to a sovereign organization based in Brussels, which will be funded by all the local organizations. This is crucial to get all these countries contributing to this global challenge, which is building smart buildings and smart cities all together and with collective intelligence. I think it is very important, and at the end, the main target, the main topic is the common interest, the interest of any citizen. As I explained, it's smart home, smart building, smart city, and global working group. And that's exactly the philosophy we intend to develop now internationally, that in any countries, all the countries work alone, but make their own contribution to SBA International to enrich the frameworks and to make it sharing to all the community of the smart building and smart cities. Now, I want to catch your attention on two major revolutions, which are also at the origin of my thought. The first revolution, you know it very clearly, it's telephone and smartphone. And at the end, the value of the smartphone, you know, is not the value itself, it's more the value of the application. And what is coming in the smart building, it's something like it. I take as example a switch. You know, a switch with a switch on the light or switch on the rolling shutters. And now you have a wireless and even batteryless switch. Here it's Philips, but it can be any kind of switch, which send a data. Which send a data to a gateway or to a system, which interprets this data. And then, thanks this data, we, of course, switch on the light or switch off the light, but which will do much more, which send a data telling there is somebody in this room switching this light. But this guy, this person has spent, for instance, 10 times in the toilet during the night. So we should call her to medicine or what else, you know. So here you can understand that we can do much more than switching the light. We can do also at once changing the system, and instead of switching one light, we can switch all the buildings. So you understand the power of digital that's here. And further to it, what we are doing within SBA, we are working on strategic domain, digital device, connectivity, interoperability, so working on APIs, data formats, data management, working on digital twin, on operating system of the buildings, data platform, cyber security, which is strategic, innovative services, and artificial intelligence. And of course, dissemination, skills, new business model, and regularity framework. And this for energy efficiency, for health, for security, comfort, electromobility, for instance. And that's the reason why we worked on this digital, on this reference framework, Ready2Service, for residential buildings, commercial buildings, and district level. This is really the approach of Ready2Service is really to define how, if we speak about a smart building, how the smart building is connected and how it communicates its data and how it communicates to its environment. So we are defining the connectivity and also the communication. What purpose? The purpose is to say that there, before a building, the value of the building was the location. This is a 3L law, location, location, and location. But no, it's no more the 3L law. It's also the services. And as a building was a center of cost, thanks digital, it becomes, or it will become, a center of profit. And the more services there, the more value the buildings has. And that's exactly why we describe and we worked on Ready2Service. It's to set up a framework on which we can build this smart building and enable all these services to be alive. So the topic here, the benefit of R2S approach is to provide more services, optimize operation, improve the flexibility of usages, and of course, increase the property and value attractiveness. I can tell you, for instance, in France, a company like CBRE, I think you know them, recently wrote in its on its web page, a Ready2Service building. We are ready to pay 10% more because we know that the value will be even more. So I will go further in the description of this Ready2Service framework, but beside or beyond this framework, we are also going a step further. And now we are describing all the services which we can, well, not all, but main services we can deduct or we can build from this smart building. We started recently with Ready2Service for grids. So here we describe how a building will integrate, will communicate its energy data and how it will be integrated in a smart grids, and all the equipment will be able to answer to a demand response problematic. We will soon launch also Ready2Service for mobility. As you know, mobility will become more and more electrical, and mobility will become, let's say, a device of the smart building, because electrical mobility will be powered in the buildings. And of course, in this case, we need to monitor the mobility and to think how the mobility will be charged, or the vehicle will be charged, and also to think about the services. So mobility as a service. And the same with spaces. We are thinking about spaces, and no more on buildings, but spaces and space as a services, and how we can optimize this use of spaces. So that means which technology, which prerequisite to optimize spaces. The same for safety and security. The same for assisted living with R2S for care or hospitals. The same for health and well-being with Ready2Service for health and well-being will be also launched within the next months, and the same also for signage, so signalization and so on. So these are all the services we're working on, and the idea is tomorrow that when you have a building or you have a district, the more service description you have, the more value your building has, and the more the value the district has. The idea is to have then a district, and me as citizen, when I go in this district, I'm sure that I can share very easily mobility services, that the space will be health, will be safe, that if it is a housing or it is a hospital, it is also compliant to R2S. So it's very easy. And the idea, though, is to think, this is quite important, the building in two parts, hubs and satellites. That means you have a hub like hospitals, and then you have a satellite like a senior flat. But all are linked together. That means the people who are in the flat can be directly monitored, centrally monitored, and linked to the hospital. This is just an example, but I think it's quite interesting. Another example, me, Emmanuel Francois, as citizen, I am in the district, I have an application, and I'm looking for spaces for 2 hours. Whatever the building is, I know that I have several space I can go in very easily through my app because it's all interoperable and secured. This is a vision we have, and we think thanks to this framework, we will go and we will succeed to it. Of course, if we want to achieve this target, first we need to go deep in details. And that's the topic of Ready2Service. First, to take care of equipment and interface, to take care of connectivity, to take care of the network architecture, to take care of the digital security, so cyber security, to take care of the sustainable management, so that means having connectivity, equipment, architecture, but not only for one day, for all the life of the buildings, so sustainable management, and of course, all the services. The 3 points, the 3 critical points of Ready2Service, if you need to just to memorize it, the first one is to say, in smart buildings or smart cities, there is a fourth fluid. Of course, the first one was water, and then electricity, and then gas, and now it's data. And we need to collect this data. And we need to have a unique infrastructure on which all the equipment will converge. Right? That means not several infrastructure for several services, just one. Mutualize, pool this infrastructure. This is a very advanced decision. And that means IT people on building management system people have to converge. And that's what we are doing. Then it's no more having a silo model, but a transversal approach. That means if we speak about it's to split the smart building in 3 layers. The first one is equipment and interface. The second one is the network infrastructure, and the third one is application. And here, what we say is, whatever these 3 layers are, you can remove one by another one without having to remove all the others. That means if I want to add an application, I don't need to change the network infrastructure or change the equipment or interface. Or if I want to add equipment or interface, I don't need to remove the infrastructure or change the application. This is crucial. Of course, it has not been easy to make industrials compliant to this. But I can tell you today, most of the players you have behind me, and I presented you in the beginning of this presentation, are now compliant. They know that they need to have open data, interoperable systems, and be compliant to this prerequisite. As example, I will just go a little bit deeper in APIs and what we describe about open access to data and interoperability. That means, as you see here, if I have sensors, actuators, they can be direct linked to the network infrastructure with APIs, but it can go through IP gateway or through a field bus and then an IP gateway. And what we say, what is very crucial is that the APIs are accessible, are open, and that the systems are interoperable using standard protocols. When I speak about APIs, I think it's quite important. I hope that everybody here, you know what is APIs, application programming interface. But I insist on it because controlling the APIs or having access to the APIs mean controlling its business. And if we speak about a player like you, but if I'm a user, I need also to know that APIs are identified, and in the contract, APIs and how APIs are described needs also to be mentioned. This is very important. This is how we will have confidence now and in the future. Now I just want to to submit you a quick drawings which represent a smart residential smart building, collective smart building. As you can see, there are two colors. One is red and the other one is blue. Red, this is the smart home, but just for the, well, let's say it's a resident IP network. So that means it's private. It's belonging to any of the inhabitants, and it's independent from the building. But what we say now, if you want to have a smart building and smart homes, you need to add a collective infrastructure, a collective digital infrastructure in blue. And this digital collective infrastructure has gateways in every flat. And these gateways will monitor critical equipment if the residents, of course, agree, for several applications. And the first services or application is energy management. Why? Because if you just mean that in 5 years, maybe 50%, or let's say between 5 and 10 years, more than 50% of the cars or vehicles will be electrical, it won't be possible that every day at 6 hours in the afternoon, everybody want to charge at the same time its car and also put on the light, put on the back oven, and so on and so on. It will not work. That means we will need to have a global network, a global solution with also smart solution for removing any kind of for the energy monitoring of all the equipment and the buildings. This is very important, and what we need is to have and to know the energy consumption of any buildings at real time, and how much this building can be able to switch for a few minutes or few hours. This was just an example, but I think we need to have this example to understand why we need to be connected and why we need to have a global connection secured in every buildings and in every homes. But of course, I'm not finished here. It will not work if we haven't also new crafts which will take care of these smart buildings and this smart district. First is, I would say, trust third party, which will take care of the data and with whom any citizen or community will contract. This third trust party will provide a global platform and will be warrant of the security and the confidentiality of data. This third party trusted third party will contract with service operators like energy operators, but also lift operators or smart health or whatever, water and so on, which will bring a service to the building. I hope you understand what I mean here. That's fully different as it is meant today, because you have operators coming in the buildings and taking the data out of the buildings and saying we operate a service. But at the end, the citizen or the community is losing its data, is losing the confidentiality and of its data, and has no more control of the equipment and on his building or in his flat. Here we say you have a trusted third party which take care of all the data. That means all the data are collected in the building and stay in the building. And service operators will come under contract and provide a service. But the data will remain in the building and will not out of the building. This is fundamental. And this is how we will get confidence from any kind of users. That's exactly what I'm saying. Data is key, and we need to manage the data. And beyond Ready2Service, we are speaking now about data management and bringing a new data management culture. That's what we call operating system of the building. That means getting an operating system, collecting all the data from the equipment, and structuring these data so that you will enable application for services, and you will then the digital third party will be able then to contract with service operators. This is a new vision, and we are sure this is the vision which will apply with sooner or later. And here, controlling the operating system of the building is just crucial. And I will go further. Controlling the operating system of the district and the city is even more crucial. And that's exactly what makes us today so motivated, because we know that at the end, there are two challenges. The first challenge is to control the data and to have a secured data. This will first enable, I would say, this will be the warranty of freedom and also the warranty to enable new business model for the current players that you are. If we don't control this operating system, the risk is that you have key players coming from the IT environment, you know them, like the GAFAMs or the BATX or what else, which will come with their operating system. That's what I'm expecting, and which will just take all the data and bring services. But at the end, we are losing our freedom and we are losing the way to make business. This is why we are so motivated to go further and also to bring SBA at an international level so that all the countries bring their keystone to this big project. I am finished about Ready2Service, but in my presentation, as you saw, I was speaking about changes. And when I say changes, today, because of the challenges, which are so accurate, we need really to make major changes. And I will just give you one example. One example, and that's the reason why I made this small history with New York and 1880. Exactly in 1880, New York decided to make electrification and choose alternative current, so AC, for the electrification of the city. And since then, all the planet is in AC. But at the end, when you understand, most of your equipment today are not in AC, but in DC, in direct current. And beside it, the electrical car are also in DC because the battery is in DC. Your smartphone, your equipment, the LED lighting are in DC. And also the renewable energies, photovoltaic energy is in DC. So why we will switch and transform DC to AC and then to DC? This means first, loss of energy, we can estimate to 10 to 15%. Imagine of the planet what it means. And secondly, it's also a lot of transformers. Billion of transformers we could get rid of, starting from the transformer of your smartphone or your computer or your lighting. And this is really a very big challenge. I want to lead within the next 10 years. Why 10 years? Because it's exactly the time we need to switch, to replace lighting, to replace a smartphone, to replace a PC, to replace a battery, and so on and so on. So just to go further in this presentation, buildings and cities will become more and more electrical with digital. As I explained, this is the history. And now we see that it's very simple with DC because no frequency, no phase, no amplitude, stability, efficiency. One problem was transportation of DC current on long distance. But since 10 to 15 years, because of electronic improvement, we can do it now. And more electricity is transported in DC. So there are no more problems, more advantages. As you can see today with all the non-water renewable energies, we have represent 40% of energy. Distribution network is 15% loss on this transportation, less on DC, and we have more than 50% generalized DC load electronic. Here is just the vision of the University of Delft. I think some of you know it. And we are in connection with this university, which means that we are to go to hybrid AC and DC electrical network. This is very important what I'm saying today, because that means if you're building a new building today, or if you intend to retrofit a building, just think of DC first to power the cars. But not only. You can also have a DC network straight now to power lighting, rolling shutters, and all your electrical equipment with USB connectors. You will ask me, but is it realistic what you're saying? Are there some buildings already in DC? Yes, of course. And they are in Netherlands, the headquarters of ABN AMRO in Amsterdam is full DC, 380 volt DC infrastructure, and then 48 volt distribution in all the flats. This is just an example. We have recently a big building in China, 8,000 square meters, full in DC. And in Europe, in France, we have also some examples. And recently, the city of Châteauneuf decided to have to power all its public lighting with DC, thanks renewable energies, and also 2 buildings, residential buildings, with DC. And the storage is done by hydrogen. So what we think today is that the building of tomorrow will be hybrid, AC and DC, but not only the building, also the district. That means we will have 2 networks. One AC network, of course, powered by electrical central, and also a DC network. And in some cases, we could have just a DC grid. A DC grid, that means local production, local storage, and local consumption. Back to this trend, I would like to show you our vision of the typical infrastructure for smart buildings. So have a DC power infrastructure, which is not only electrical, but also data, thanks PoE. So here we are speaking about 48 volts and powering the equipment and bringing the data to the equipments, connected equipments. It can be lighting, it can be controllers, it can be electrical device, anyhow. Then you have smart sensors and actuators, mostly wireless and batteryless, because it's more sustainable and more, let's say, more sustainable, of course. And with 3 protocols which are very known: Zigbee, Bluetooth, and EnOcean. And of course, you will have AC power equipment with for key solutions, for key equipments like, let's say, lifts or copy machine or what else. So why we should move partially to DC global system, production and storage of renewable energies, electrical vehicle, electrical storage, microgrids, electrification in non-electrified areas, and simply electrical distribution, low voltage, with USB 3.1c for the connection. So it means standardization and simplification of the electrical installation. This is a key message, and I wish this message will be heard by you. And for this,
Emmanuel,
yes, I will.
If I may interrupt you, I'm sorry. It's not that you don't have any more time, but there are several questions on the chat. Perhaps it is nice to well, pay some attention to those questions.
Yes. Just to let you know, I made a charter, and you can answer to this charter by scanning it. And just for finishing, I will finish my vision. I spoke about DC and AC as hybrid solution for the smart building and the smart city. But I don't want to stay just at energy. It will, from my point of view, it must be the same for water, with 2 networks, potable water and also grey water, with retreatment locally, and the same for wastes. And the idea also is to change all the organization of the cities toward more mixed city, and to be more durable. But I answer now to your question.
Well, thank you. Well, first question, Jan Harms, very Dutch. We need a building service architecture and develop building blocks with the right interfaces based on open standards. And he also says very good presentation with an holistic vision. Not a specific question.
What is the question? Sorry, I did.
No, it's more a comment.
Okay, thank you.
I see another interesting question. Well, I saw it, but my colleague has to put the questions back on. Yes, there is. It's an interesting question. Why should Dutch companies participate in the Smart Building Alliance?
I like this question.
Me too.
Why? Because, as I explained you, if you look at the already Smart Building Alliance, is not an association, a free association, non-profit association with unique interest. Is our top target is the citizen interest, the common interest, and I think today the challenges, I spoke about freedom, I spoke about also business model and also sustainability. And I think not only in France we will succeed to meet these challenges. We need to do it all together. And the idea is now to set up association all over in Europe, independent, I underline independent, and contribute to enlarge, enrich this framework. Of course, this framework exists, but it can be performed. Back to this framework, I forgot to underline that already, even in Netherlands, this ready-to-service framework is in place. And the latest example or the latest project is the project the Edge Stadium in Amsterdam, done by Edge Technology Development in Rotterdam. So this will be a ready-to-service building, but there are several others in projects. So I would say we are not in a way to say we French we come in Netherlands. Not at all. We say we would like to work with you and set up an association in Netherlands, fully independent, and then just work with a sovereign association, because we need to, of course, to have a sovereign association, build this association in Brussels, which will be the leading association, but the leading association in which all the countries will have the same weight. So that means, let's say it otherwise, start or build the European Commission of the Smart Building and the Smart City. That's just what we are thinking of.
I understand. Well, let's discuss about that outside this platform.
Yes.
Another question. I have to a little bit closer. How do you see the competition between Smart Building Alliance, Ready2Services Solutions versus Amazon Solutions and KNX Solutions?
It's not a competition, not at all. It's fully in line. Because as you saw on the presentation, I mentioned field bus. So what we say, KNX is just on the infrastructure, and then it's connected to IP. And as you know, certainly there is a project which is IP Bliss, which connects KNX to the IP. So it's just in line, and we are fully in line with it.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's see. We have time for another question. Perhaps my colleague can scroll the questions a little bit to the bottom. Yeah, that's better. Let's see. An interesting question. In the case of an existing multi-tenant building, there will be mixed interests. How can we achieve Ready2Service?
When you mean mixed interest, that means mixed, yes.
Mixed companies, mixed interests, mixed end users.
Mixed users and mixed, yes. So the Ready2Service is meant for the building. And then, of course, you have no problem with mixed interest. Of course, it's just thinking of the infrastructure and the equipments which will need to be connected to the building, and that's exactly what I presented to this residential collective building. You have the infrastructure of the building, you have the equipment, we belong to the building, and then you have also let's say, owners in the flats, and in these flats they can have their own system. But what is important that at the end you have the connection to these to the equipment if the owner agrees. But at the end, there is a service for the building, and if I speak for energy, it's the convergence is very important. Maybe I'm not very clear, but
I understand what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to ask a last question because it's very interested. How and when do you see the breakthrough for smart buildings as a mass market?
Very good question. Exactly working. We are working on it. Today, I think it's now. I think it's now for several reasons. The COVID crisis is just accelerating the transition to smart buildings.
I agree.
And I would say in commercial buildings, the owners have no choice. They have no choice today. In France, we have millions of buildings empty, and I think it's not only in France.